All right, a question just came in. What do you think about touching your clients when they're in hypnosis? Oh my. Well, it depends. In this video, I want to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly about touching clients when it's appropriate, when it's not, and what to do if you can, and what to do if you can't. Hmm. All right. So some of the questions we might ask are, is it worth the risk of touching a hypnotized client? I wonder what risks there might be. Under what circumstances do I recommend that you do touch your clients? This one, how do you conduct high quality sessions if you can't even touch your clients? All right, here we go. All right, let's get right into it. Is it okay to touch your clients? Well, it depends. Let me give you a little bit of background. Back in the day, when I was a psychotherapist and going through my psychotherapist training, we were taught there's no reason to be touching your clients. Now, of course, that's not hypnosis, that's psychotherapy, but it just wasn't required, wasn't needed, and there was a lot of dangers in doing it, such as dangers of clients getting attached or misreading what you're doing, or even feeling like you've taken liberties that you shouldn't. So what happened was after I got into the profession, I started watching videos of the masters, taking training from some of the masters, and I noticed some of the best hypnotists at the time were touching, masters like Gil Boyne and others. And they did a lot of touching. And I think their background was in stage hypnosis, where they kind of went for immediate, dependable, and maybe sometimes dramatic on stage hypnosis. But by watching them and seeing what they're doing, I really isolated that there was, four kinds of touch that was probably very beneficial. And so I started doing touching with my clients as I became a hypnotherapist. And I would always get permission first. Always get permission first if you're going to touch a client. Now, before I go on any farther, I will let you know you don't have to touch your clients, but I'm giving you a background on why I did and why I don't. All right. So I found that it was very useful to be able to get permission to touch their hand, their arm, their shoulder, and maybe even their forehead. Because there's hypnotic techniques where we want to lift their hand and drop it. We might want to signal them by pushing on their arm or on their shoulder. Or there's other techniques where tapping on the forehead can be very useful. For example, creating a twitching response to eye lock suggestions, or just getting their attention, or just trying to get them to move along, or to move more quickly and not be so over processing of what they're doing. So I started doing that, and it was awesome. I was I got out of my psychotherapist shell and got into my full-blown hypnotherapist and hypnotist uh, processes, and it was just great. But then, I realized from my psychotherapy training that whenever I touch a client or whenever you touch a client, you're taking a risk. What? They could say, well, that was inappropriate and bring an ethics complaint against you. Or they could say that it was unnecessary, or they could say that, well, actually anything they wanted to say. And, you know, some of the people we get can have alternative reasons for being there. They might actually come in to try to misunderstand what's going on and sue you. And so, but I decided it was worth it. And I did two things before I touched any client. One, I got permission. Can I have before the hypnosis, before hypnotizing them? I said, may I have permission during the session to touch your hand, your arm, your shoulder, maybe even your forehead? And I would get yes. If I didn't get a yes, then I wouldn't do it. If I didn't get a yes right away, I'd explain why I wanted to do that, and then I'd usually get a yes. But if they didn't give me a yes, then I wouldn't touch them. And the second thing I did is I always hit the record button on my video recorder. That's right. Before my clients came into the office, all of them signed a release allowing me to videotape their sessions. And before they came into my office, I hit the record play so that I always, always, always had their permission for me to touch them on video. Now, I never, ever, ever got in trouble for touching someone in a hypnosis session. I was just aware that there was some danger there. And I knew that if someone did make some accusations, I had a video recording of the touching that I did, which was always appropriate, hand, arm, shoulder, maybe even their forehead, and also that they said I could. So with that, I had about 2 decades of touching my clients and with no problems at all, getting excellent results. But then COVID came. And actually, it started before COVID. I started seeing clients online about 2 years before COVID, but I didn't really feel compelled that I had to come. It was occasional here and there. But during COVID, something happened. All my clients became online clients. And it caused me to really, really look at how to do that in an excellent way. And as a result, I put together a course on how to do online clients, and I'll put a link below. And then I also my course became the foundation for the National Guild of Hypnotists ethics and procedures for doing online sessions with clients and doing online training. Okay, now, so what do I do now? What do I think was an interesting thing? So I started seeing clients only online. And I wanted my online sessions to be every bit as good, every bit as effective as my on-site sessions. So I developed all these workarounds for everything that I was doing with my clients that required touching. And then what happened was, my online sessions were just as good with these workarounds, which I teach in class. No time to do all that right here. Now, one of the things that happened was since I was getting such effective results online, when all of my clients came, well, some right now I see some about 50-50, and it varies. 50% of my clients online and 50% of my clients in person in my office. So what happened was since I found all these workarounds, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to touch anybody no more. Now that I have these workarounds and my sessions are just as good without touching, I decided to move along and stop touching my clients, even when I have them in session. I no longer pick up their hand and drop it. I no longer rock their head. I no more tapping them, touching on the shoulder, touching on the arm. None of that stuff because of the workarounds. So, with all of that in mind, what do I recommend you do? I recommend you do whatever you think is best for you because it's your business. But what I've taken on is the attitude of why take on the unnecessary risk of touching clients? Probably the only time I ever touch someone when I'm hypnotizing someone nowadays is when I do, for demonstration purposes, a an instant induction, my 8-word induction, which I usually do standing, and they press down on my hand so they touch me, and of course, as a result, I'm touching them. And then I also have to be able to have my hand on their shoulder to help them in case they decided to get really, really limp and might fall down because they go in so quickly, so deeply. But in regular sessions where I'm hypnotizing clients day in and day out, I never touch. Remember this, even clients who are in the deepest state of hypnosis, true hypnosis, are aware of what you're doing with them. They know if you're touching them or not. They know what you're saying to them or not. If they're not aware of that stuff, they're no longer in hypnosis. They are unconscious. They are asleep. Remember, hypnosis is a heightened state of suggestibility, which requires the person to be awake and to be conscious. Okay. If the person falls asleep, then they're not in hypnosis. Hypnosis and sleep are two different things. All right, let's see what else have I got here for you. All right, what do you think? Do you touch? Do you think it's a good idea to touch? Have you ever touched and now you're not touching, or you weren't touching and now you are? I want you to leave a comment down there. Let me know. I want to truly get your input on what's going on here. And by the way, if you want to go through my training and get certified as a 5-path hypnotist, either coming new into the profession, getting your first hypnosis certification, or you're already certified and you want to bump up your level of training, then come on, go to Banyan Hypnosis Career Training.com. My next training, if you're watching this as I'm making it, is September 14th through the 20th, 2025. All the information about all my courses are right there on Banyan Hypnosis Career Training. All right, let's do great things together. And leave a comment. Cal Banyan, signing out.